Hey everyone, in this video we are going to dive into one of these bad boys that is everyone's favorite type of example to forget. Cosine of theta is equal to 8 over 17. At each comma, at each endpoint, stop and take count of what it is you know or can conclude from that information. Well, cosine is, since your days of geometry, the ratio of adjacent, my bracelet's stuck, adjacent over hypotenuse. So that means that this 8 is referring to the adjacent side of the triangle and that the 17 is referring to the hypotenuse. Now, these triangles that we talk about, opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse, are always going to be right triangles. Do you know a Pythagorean triple that has 8 and 17, 17 being the hypotenuse? If you were my student, I hope you know 8, 15, 17 is a very important Pythagorean triple, and that's going to help us move along a little bit quicker. Excuse me. So what else are we told? We're told a little bit about theta, the angle in question. Theta is, the way you would read this is you would say theta is essentially between 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi. Well, what quadrant is that describing? I believe if you're here and you made it this far, you should know that that's referring to down here in quadrant 4, 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi, looking like we're in this area right over there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a dot here. This doesn't need to be to scale. When I do stuff in the future videos where we're talking about unit circle stuff from memory, you're going to be to scale. It's going to matter. Right now, it doesn't really matter. I mean, for some of you, maybe it will, and you'll get thrown off if you're not to scale. I'm going to put a dot here. I'm going to connect to the origin. From there, I'm also going to connect to my closest x-axis, which makes me my reference triangle with my terminal side, my x-axis, and this vertical line. Your terminal side is going to overlap the hypotenuse of your reference triangle, right? Cosine adjacent over hypotenuse. Well, adjacent to what? Adjacent to theta, which is always going to be found between your hypotenuse and x-axis. Theta, reference angle, we're looking right over there. Adjacent. If you look at this corner, it kind of looks like you can make an A. A for adjacent, but if you separate it, boop, at the top, it also makes an H. So the two sides that touch at your reference angle are the adjacent and the hypotenuse. This guy over here, oh my, does not touch it at all. Opposite. That's your opposite side. Adjacent. The adjacent in this case is apparently 8, and the hypotenuse, which is never negative, hypotenuses the hypotenuse will always be positive. So H equals 17. We also referenced 8, 15, 17 as our handy dandy Pythagorean triple. Now, while I might want to just go ahead and label this as 15, that's not quite enough. Because we're going down and we're in quadrant 4 over here, you need to remember, be a smart one and put a negative on that 15. Over 8, down 15, hypotenuse is 17. Is this on the unit circle? No way. The unit circle has a radius of 1. It's an itty bitty circle in relation to the circle. If I were to draw a circle over here, this would be much larger. My dog's going crazy over there. All right, so we are referring only, sorry, I think that he hears music downstairs, and I don't know if he's, where is he? He's looking for it. He usually goes through this where he'll scratch at this couch and the pillows until all the pillows are on the floor, or he gets really tired and falls asleep on one of the little fluffy pillows. So we'll see what happens. Okay. All right. So anyhow, we're looking at this triangle here, 8, negative 15, 17. We have everything we need right now. We are just one step away from finishing this problem. Look at how far we've come. You maybe were so confused like 10 minutes ago, right? So if I want to find the cotangent of this very same angle, it is going to be the reciprocal of tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Then cotangent will be adjacent over opposite. Adjacent over opposite. Now, we usually don't leave our negative symbol in a denominator. So if this were a multiple choice answer, they're either going to write it as negative in front of the fraction and then 8 over 15, or they're going to write it as negative 8 on the numerator and positive 15 in the denominator. It's important to realize that if this problem were a bit switched around and this was given as cotangent up here, even if the negative is in front of the 8, because neither side is the hypotenuse, that negative might go with the 8 and it might go with the 15. And it's up to you to kind of piece that all together. We'll see other examples, or you already did see them if you came from the other direction. So I'm just working backwards here with the videos. But if you're given two positives for, say, tangent or cotangent, since neither side is the hypotenuse in that situation, if they're both positive, remember, if it's in quadrant 3, they can both be negative. Just throwing a bit out there at you, giving you some extra details. But either way, the final answer is that the cotangent, I would say, of this angle theta is, I'd like to write it as negative 8 over positive 15. So if you are like, oh my gosh, now I remember, I had no idea what the heck this was asking. I'm such a silly goose, but you do remember and you feel fairly confident about this now. I'm super happy for you. Please mark it off. Thumbs up so you know you don't have to watch it again. If you have no idea and you might have to revisit this at a later time, please mark it up with a thumbs down. If you have any other tips, advice, questions, please put them in the comment section down below. Somebody else would appreciate it. Click through for the next example, and I hope you're feeling a little bit smarter at this moment. Adios.